I want the student to be more independent with putting on shoes. How can I teach them to tie their shoelaces?
When teaching a student to tie their own shoelaces, I think there's a couple of things to consider first before beginning teaching. First of all would be to ensure that you and the student aren't feeling rushed at that time. This is a skill that's going to require a lot of repetition and practice in order for them to master this skill. So picking the time of day is going to be important. Some other considerations before you begin teaching this skill would be looking at the type of shoelaces that you're using. So wider flat laces are going to be a lot easier to learn this skill initially than round, harder laces. Also laces that are a little bit longer are going to assist with learning this skill initially. Another really good tip to begin teaching this skill would be to colour one side of the laces a different colour. So this can assist a student with autism to differentiate between each side of the laces, so when they are involved in the tying and knotting, that it's a little bit clearer for them which side goes where. Now that you're sort of at the point of being ready to start teaching a child how to tie their own shoelaces, there's two ways that you can go about doing that. The first is the show and do method, and the second is using a method called backward chaining. So using the show and do method, you and the student will sit side by side, each with your own shoe, with the toe facing outwards, just as though the shoe were on your own foot. And what you're going to do is you're going to very slowly, carefully show the student each of the steps involved in tying their own shoes, while encouraging them to imitate each of those steps as you complete them. So talking through the pulling the shoelaces up, crossing them over, looping them around, pulling, creating the two bunny ears, looping those around, and pulling that through the hole. So each of those steps you want to encourage the student to complete as you do that, and narrate each step as you're completing it as well, so that they have a good understanding of each of the steps involved in that. The second method uses a technique called backward chaining. Now this would involve you completing each of those individual steps in tying the shoelaces up until the last step, at which point you would prompt and encourage the student to complete that last step for themselves. So you do all of those steps up into having the two bunny ears looped over, and you would encourage them to pull one of those bunny ears through the loop. Once they've mastered that, you can then encourage them to do the last two steps of that sequence. So creating the two bunny ears, looping the two bunny ears over and then pulling it through, prompting them so that they can experience success in completing this step, and then as they've demonstrated mastery with that, continuing to increase the number of steps that they would be completing for themselves. It's important to consider that all the way through this you want to be providing a lot of specific positive praise to the student to encourage their motivation to complete this skill for themselves, or to participate in this learning process. For some students, you may also benefit from using a token system, such as a star chart, so that they can really see that they're doing the right thing and they can see what they're working towards. It's another useful strategy for students with autism, just to increase their motivation to participate in this learning. And that's about it from me. Thanks for listening.